that's the metaphysics architecture.
But that assumes that there is a fundamental limitation on the divine, which is a limitation on the divine, which is determined by observing our universe. Right, which is assumed therefore to be the only universe that in fact exists. There may be another universe on another planet.
I don't know if there's another universe or not. I have a hard enough time dealing with this cosmos. I'm dealing with one cosmos at a time. In this cosmos, which I can to some extent observe, these appear to be the ground rules. Are there other universes? It's possible. I don't deal with them. I leave that to the next guy.
Book 3?
No. The Gray Book. The Gray Book. No.
The other universe.
I say, a lot of cosmologists who deal with the origins of the cosmos say, well, there are many. The answer is, where does the cosmos come from? There were actually many universes, multi-universe. So that doesn't help you. That doesn't help you at all.
No.
So where did those come from? So in dealing with this cosmos with limited human powers of observation, this particular framework, skeleton of theories, of this unified theory, would seem to work. Yes, you have to finesse the origins of quest for potential. Yes, that's a whole Torah, as they say. But again, it seems to me, it's an easier proposition to make that this infinite potential as an eternal origin is an easier proposition to make than the God of Israel per se, without infinite potential as its core, as eternal proposition. So it's subjective, and
Let me throw in one other question.
Yes.
If I understand it correctly from listening now,
right.
When you say that this potential thing becomes the God of Israel, what you mean is that as this potential thing does certain things, by doing those things, it becomes the sum of its own experiences. So for example, if I would go to medical school, I would become a doctor, right? Because I would learn all those things and they would affect me. And now, because I studied those things, I'm a doctor. So I start out on a kind of undefined, divine force. But I made decisions. I made decisions to actualize myself by taking these guys from here and taking them out of that country and to do this miracle, but unfortunately to have to watch them persecuted in the Middle Ages or the Holocaust. Now, I become the God of Israel because I have chosen to do certain things which we call the things that the God of Israel did. So we're really in the debate of attributes and essence, I think. Am I right or am I wrong?
You like to go into that zone. You like to go into the zone of attributes and essence of the divine. And a lot of rabbinics and scholars like to go into that zone. I don't like to go in that zone. It's like, to me, it's like trying to define love. Some things you don't try to define because you can't define them. So I've sort of taken it as far as I can. I mean, that quest potential is eternal, and quest potential is at the core of the divine. I do not have the intellectual firepower to take it much further than that. And I leave it, if I'm so lucky, to different extrapolators of my proposition down the road. He says this, he says that. I don't have the intellectual firepower, nor do I have the certitude to take it much further. To me, it's like defining love. I can't define love. I can't take it much further than that. To me, it's somewhat subjective. You can have it your way, and he can have it this way. It seems to me these are the basic parameters. Somehow, somewhere, quest for potential is at the core of the divine, and the two are seamless.
Isn't the argument of metaphysics that it's really true, as opposed to existentialism? Isn't that the argument of metaphysics in general? That metaphysics claims that what it says is really true. Not what I perceive, it's really true.
Oh, it is true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not just what I perceive.
Is that what it says?
I mean, but even going back to, if you go back to certainly Maimonides, but you go back to the classical philosophers like Plato, they all realize that there's a kind of limit to your knowledge.
Yeah.
They all realize that there's a
but they assume that what they're saying
is true.
As metaphysics
Yes.
At some level. But if you talk about a negative theology or this idea of the form of the good, they're saying, well, it's true, but within our particular language, and ultimately we can't really grasp what it is.
Okay, so I suggest at this point, it's been very vibrant, that we sort of do like parting shots. Like parting shot one, and then if we want to do it one more round, so we put the parting shots to the discussion. How's that?
Okay.
Right.
Parting shot would be that I think that if someone were to want to analyze these books from scratch, say what motivates David Birnbaum, it's the Holocaust.
I say it from the get-go.
Yeah. Now, so therefore, one of the questions that we'll have to ask over time is whether or not a metaphysical theory, which starts from something, certainly historically is an aberration, forget about philosophically, historically is an aberration, right? Whether or not the cart is driving the horse or the horse is driving the cart. And I would suggest that when people examine this now, who are capable of that kind of analysis, I think it's one of the big questions they want. Because you said something very interesting here today, and it's in one of the books, which is that the quest for potential, in a certain sense, is a theory which sort of, once the Holocaust occurs, it now becomes clear why it worked that way from creation. So it means to say that people will have to judge the extent to which, if that's the driving force, that had there been no Holocaust, you would have gone with the same theory.
I think book one certainly is captive to that dynamic. I think book two is liberated from that dynamic, and the two books work together. But you have a good point. It's a good point. It's a fair point. It's an interesting point, even for me to think about.
I would be. There's a couple of things that I'd be interested in. One is seeing developed further is the degree to which this is a work of the diaspora. Where does the state of Israel come in? Where does Zionism? What is the place of that, and how does that impact? Would this work be a different work if you were writing it in Israel, or and kind of connected with that? I think that there are some figures that do have bearing on your work that I think for future study would be very interesting to compare to. And for instance, Rav Kook.
We love Rav Kook, and I quote him heavily. I love him, love 11, right? He's a towering figure in my mind.
Well, Danny Khalil obviously loves Rav Kook.
Well, we both love Rav Kook.
Not in here.
Right.
So I think that, and there's certain kind of 19th century and early 20th century figures that I think the dialogue can be expanded even further, and it'd be interesting to see.
There's a lot in common with Rav Kook.
Right, a lot. Right. He would be sort of the rabbinic spiritual godfather, almost, to Summa, on some level. You have a finale, parting reprise.
Well, a parting comment would be that people will be talking about these things forever, and we will all be talking about them forever. And I always say to people who have personal problems about some of these issues, I very often say, if you keep talking about it, in some way, it sort of alleviates the problem. And I think that on some level, the attempt to contribute an answer to this set of questions is a very important contribution. Whatever it will be, we'll debate the answer. But the thing of doing it, of worrying about these kinds of issues, is a very important thing to do.
Right, well, so we all know that, but we would hope to believe that we have it pretty much right. And do you have a parting shot? I think that. You rest your case?
I rest my case.
Okay, that'll wrap it up, and thank you very much.
Okay.
It was good.